Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel Tech Munch. So today we will discuss a very important feature in reactjs, that is use effect hooks in reactjs. So let us start now. So before dive into, we will discuss the roadmap of today's session. So we have break down our sessions today into two part. Number one, we will discuss theoretical and conceptual part of use effect, and second part we will discuss the practical case of use effect, right? So let us start now. So what is use effect? Basically the use effect hooks let you perform side effect in functional component. So what is side effect? Side effect is nothing but it is updation of your properties and state of react component. Let's suppose there is some state of your functional component, and whenever your state are going to change, in that case use effect will come into picture, that will use to get that effect into use effect function, right? Let us elaborate more into a react practical scenario. Let us assume we have one login form that have two input field, that is username password, and there is another submit button that is responsible to perform some API call, right? So let's suppose your screen are rendered and user are put their username password and press the button. In that case there will be some side effect will occur where API will call and response will come into the functional component. In that case you have to perform some action like login successful. In that case use effect is very useful to catch such kind of effect in your functional component, right? So when response will come, then use effect basically will re-render your new information in functional component that says you are login successful. So in such use case, use effect is very important in React.js to perform such kind of task. Let us move forward. So if you are familiar with the class lifecycle method like component did mount, component did update, component will unmount, so you can relate it clearly that when you will combine these three callback lifecycle methods equal to the use effect, you can say these callback, these three callback method can be unified into a single form that is called use effect. I think it will be pretty clear, and you will also relate with the class component lifecycle methods. So here we will discuss the syntax of the use effect. Basically, this is a method signature of use effect. There is two parameters basically. Number one, function. Number two, dependency. Function is basically nothing but it is your callback function, right? This part. And second one is responsible to the behavior of use effect, behavior of calling of use effect, when it should call and when it should not call. It will depend upon the second parameter that is called dependency, right? So in further slides we will discuss more into the dependency parts, how it will control the behavior of the use effects, right? Let us move. So To implement use effect in our React project, there is three key steps are required to integrate such a feature in your functional component. Step number one, you have to import use effect from React component. Number two, you have to define use effect function in your functional component. Number three, there should be one more section where you can update your you can update your um, state through set methods, right? Okay, so in this slide we will discuss the controls of use effects, how it behaves based upon the dependency parameters of the use effects, right? So basically there is a three different control phenomena of the use effect. Basically these phenomena are depend upon the second parameter, that is a dependency, right? The based upon the dependency, the use effect callback function will behave accordingly, right? Number one, let's suppose you are not passing any dependency into use effect hooks. In that case, your use effect function will render whenever any changes are happen in your functional component, right? So number two, when we will pass empty array in dependency parameter, then in that case, whenever your first render will occur, in that case only use effect will invoke. Number three, when you will pass some state and property in your bracket in your array, in that case the use effect will only call whenever these two property has been changed, right? So let's suppose there is two things where is props and states. When two things are happens in your functional component, then only this will be called, right? So let's suppose I am giving an example. There is a one counter application where one state, that is a count, and if you would like to call when any counter will update, in that case whenever counter will update, in that case the use effect will call. And if there another property, let's suppose there is a some login successful property I state, in that case you are not passing as a parameter here, then in that case it would not be called. I will discuss this uh, uh, use effect function using multiple multiple state and property in upcoming slide, that will help more for you. Let us move. Sorry. So here we will discuss some interview question which is more often asked in our interview sessions. Number one, what is use effect? Obviously, I have made this video on the topic that is use effect, so I think it will be pretty much clear for you. But again, I would like to repeat what is use effect in short form. Basically, use effect is nothing but it is a provision in functional component when any actions or any updation of your properties or state are happen. In that case, if you would like to catch that changes, then in that case we have to register use effect as a event, and whenever those changes are happen, it will invoke according to the um, registration of your dependency parameter of use effect, right? When should we use? Obviously, whenever you have to catch any side effect in your functional component, in that case you can use effect. Next question, that is third, how to control use effect. function call. Obviously, we can control our useEffect function call using dependency parameter, which I have already discussed about, right? So let us move to the practical part that will help us to boost our understanding pretty much well, right? So let us move to the practical. So here, first of all, I would like to elaborate some concept to integrate our use effect hook in our code. First of all, we have to import use effect from the functional component, that is react.js, right? And second part, you have to define use effect callback method function. And third part, you have to update your counters, right? So let us suppose there is one counter one, right? So if we are define our use effect function, we are not passing any dependency parameter here. So how it will behave? Actually, I have already explained that whenever there is no any dependency parameter is passed, in that case use effect will call for every render of your functional component. So to verify that it is happening every time or not, I have used alert that will show that this function use effect function call for every time, sorry, for every time or sometime whenever state a particular um, is a particular counters will occur, right? So let us see. Here is counter 1. Whenever I am calling, then it is showing alert. So that means that use effect is calling whenever any render whenever function are rendering, right? So let's suppose I am passing empty big bracket. In that case, this function is called only once, right? So let's suppose I am clicking a counter run, it is updating, but our use effect is not calling again and again because of empty parameter. That shows that this is only call very first time when your functional component are rendered. Let's suppose I am passing counter 1. In that case, basically it will call whenever counters are get update, right? So here I am clicking that, then counter is getting update, so in that case it is calling every times, right? Let's suppose I am also setting one counter to, so that we can distinguish that whenever we pass multiple states, so how it will behave, right? So let us suppose I am displaying counter 2 here, counter 2. Sorry guys. Okay, so here let us create counter to button as well. Here error count, there should be counter two. Okay, okay guys. Let us put counter two here. Okay, so here we'll see when I am pressing counter 1, then use effect is calling, right? Whenever I am clicking counter 2, let us see what is happening here. Counter 1 and counter 2. Why counter 2 is not updating? What's the reason? Let me counter 2 dot 1. there might be some errors. Let me see where the errors. Counter to 1. No, counter 1 is working fine. Okay guys, so I have set up, basically there was few issue. We are not actually setting counter to, that's why there was some issue. So here you can see count whenever doing counter 1, it is your use effect is calling, and whenever I'm clicking counter 2, then there is no use effect is invoking. Why? Because we are not passing dependency parameter, that is counter 2. Let's suppose I am passing counter 2 here as well. In that case, this method will invoke whenever any changes are happen in counter 1 or any changes happen in counter 2. Let us see. Yeah, this is definitely calling. And also when I pressing counter 2, it is also invoking. That's it guys. I think it will be pretty clear for you. Thank you. Thank you so much guys.